All right, folks, welcome to September. We have Ripple responding and exposing the SEC in their response to the SEC's request for interlocutory appeal. That's right, the SEC is not waiting for the final order and judgment for this case to come to a resolution as a normal case would proceed, and then you appeal. No, that's not how the SEC does it. They're trying to interject an appeal in the middle of this case. In the middle of this case coming to a conclusion, the SEC can't help themselves filing for interlocutory appeal. And today, September 1st, we get Ripple's response. So I'm going to get the full breakdown here for you guys on the legal battlefield, what's taking place, and how Ripple just exposed the SEC in their response. This is some incredible stuff. Let's take a look at what the markets did today before we get started, folks. Watching this thing closely right now. This is about 9:30 on the West Coast, Friday, September 1st. This is going to be dropping tomorrow. You guys will be seeing this September 2nd, okay? So right now, at the time of recording, 9:30 on the West Coast. We closed out that monthly candle above 26,000, but then we did drop back down here to 25,700 for Bitcoin, 1631 for Ethereum, and XRP down below 50 cents once again. Let's take a look at what XRP did today, down to about 48.8 cents. So if you've been looking to pick up and scoop up some XRP on the low, it is coming through. And we look at this Bitcoin chart on the daily all the way back to the November bottom. I'm zoomed out here on the daily chart all the way back for about over the last year here to when we bottomed out. And I'm watching this structure right now. If we break right here, if we break from the 25K level, look out below, folks, and we can easily be brought down here into the low 20s. So watch out closely here. Back during the 2019 bear market, we highlighted how Bitcoin did a 300% bull trap rally. What you see here is the equivalent to about a 105% bull trap rally. Will it continue? Will it roll back over just like it did in 2019 into 2020? It actually went back down and touched that previous level. So if we do something similar to the previous bear market, we could actually be going back down sub 20,000 once again before we get set free more towards that halvening, which comes in. Let's slide this way. Do I have it? Oh yeah. Well, let me just right there. Okay. April 1st, 2024 is when the Bitcoin halvening is expected to occur. Okay. So let's zoom out right there. You see, we topped out here at basically just over 31,790 is where we just topped out back in July. And then in November, after the FTX collapse, that's what brought us down to 15.5. So if history repeats from the last bear market, we come back down here, or at least somewhere close, before we get set free. Right before that Bitcoin halvening is when we started that next bull run, right? We had the March 2020 crash, and then we got set free. And we're going to be watching to see if something similar plays out here once again. It's incredible to believe that we are going to be coming up here on 4 years since 2020, right? This is incredible. The last few years in this crazy timeline that we've been watching unfold in this whole crypto market, and, you know, waiting for XRP to finish up this lawsuit. Today, we get the response from Ripple. Huge shout out to James Phelan, XRP community. Breaking: Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson filed their opposition to the SEC's motion to certify the interlocutory appeal. So as I was saying, that interlocutory appeal is something that requires, in exceptional circumstances, for interlocutory appeal are absence, according to Ripple in Brad and Chris's defense. So this is a direct quote here. Cowboy Crypto sharing this one with us. And then Stuart Alderati shared this, and he said, go to footnotes 5. It's my favorite. Well, Digital Perspectives, Brad Kimes did, and he calls it the money shot. And let's read off this. This is where Ripple just completely exposes the SEC in their own words. Check this out, folks. The SEC states at 16, it does not seek appellate review of any holding relating to the fact that the underlying assets here are nothing but computer code with no inherent value. The court made no such ruling. To the contrary, undisputed evidence established XRP's inherent utility as a bridge currency to facilitate cross-border transactions. And instead, the court found that an XRP token is not in itself an investment contract because it does not in itself meet Howey's requirements. So essentially, they are using the SEC's own words in their motion for interlocutory appeal, right? This is their line. This is a direct quote. That the SEC does not seek appellate review of any holding relating to the fact that the underlying assets here are nothing but computer code with no inherent value. So the SEC is saying that this thing has no inherent value. But the court actually didn't make that ruling. See, that's where that gets interesting. And now Ripple gets to, basically take that and work it into their response, where, to the contrary, undisputed evidence established XRP's inherent utility as a bridge currency to facilitate cross-border transactions. Now, I am dropping another video on what it means to be a reserve currency, and facilitating cross-border transactions is considered to be a reserve currency, deal. Either you're a reserve currency because people are keeping your currency on their balance sheet as a reserve, right, to store value, or they're using your reserve currency as a bridge currency, one to facilitate currency, not just cross-border payments, but also any sort of settlements, payments, and all of the other financial instruments, debt included, derivatives, equities, bonds, you name it, right? What is that value denominated? And that's what makes a reserve currency. Now, to the contrary, right here, undisputed evidence established XRP's inherent utility as a bridge currency to facilitate cross-border transactions. Now that the SEC has brought in the value proposition, this is an exchange here from Bill Morgan and Jimmy Valley. Huge shout out to Jimmy. Jimmy's talking about the fair market value deal once again, right? Since the SEC decided to bring this up and include and make the statement, the claim that XRP is just software code within it of itself having no intrinsic value, we get an exchange going back here between Jimmy and Bill Morgan. And Jimmy says this: the intrinsic value is irrelevant. It's a red herring argument by the SEC. Fair market value is the key. The intrinsic value of a $1 bill is the same as the intrinsic value of a $100 bill. The SEC is petrified that the plaintiff's bar is going to figure this out, meaning Ripple's lawyers, right? Brad and Chris, their lawyers are going to figure this out. Who will it be? Now, Jimmy explains further. Someone asked about intrinsic value. He explains the intrinsic value of one share of Apple stock is $0. The intrinsic value of $1 or $100 is about 2 cents, the paper it's printed on, right? The intrinsic value of XRP is a fraction of a penny, i.e. the burn rate, right? That's the intrinsic value. This is not relevant to the real inquiry of damages. And that's the key word right there, the damages. Fair market value is what's relevant. And as I've stated, I think the damages are well over 1 trillion. That's right, trillion with a T, because if we wouldn't have been able to participate in the last bull run, we would have done something interesting that would have taken the market cap somewhere pretty dang close, probably by most conservative technical analysis. Now, Bill Morgan says, now I agree that that is the answer to the SEC's assertion that XRP is just computer code with no intrinsic value. So what? That isn't what matters, and it is not relevant to the application of the Howey test whether the asset has intrinsic value or not. Jimmy retweets. He says, now, question to all amicus in the SEC versus Ripple case. Now the SEC opened the door, re value of XRP, shouldn't there be an amicus brief to the judge on the appropriate value thereof? How about that, folks? And this is very interesting right here. Jimmy Valley, someone who's came into the conversation with the intent to protect XRP holders, to protect those that have invested in this digital asset, that believe that this asset is going to be a reserve currency and a big part of the new financial system, right? Like I do, like so many others do. And I've had Jimmy on the show, and it was one of the most popular conversations I've done. If you guys want to check it out, you can go to my interviews section, and we interviewed Jimmy, and that was a fantastic conversation about what the whole, it was deemed to be the buyback committee, right? Well, we talked about it and we got into what that was all really about. But then now Jimmy's the one that's brought up this fair market value conversation as well, which now we're starting to see is becoming relevant because the SEC is saying that, XRP in and of itself, okay, sure, it's not a security. We're not going to appeal that, but it's just software code with no intrinsic value. Well, that's not true. It was touted as a reserve currency by Ripple in 2017. It's set up to do a lot more than what it's been able to accomplish with the cloud over this asset that the SEC placed on it, that Jay Clayton placed on it with his lawsuit on his last day. And what I love to see out of Ripple is that they are going to put up a fight here. This tweet right here from Wrath of Kahneman. In this response to the SEC, Ripple notes their intention to go to the mat over ODL remedies given the judge's ruling. The SEC wanted Howie, and now they're getting it. And essentially what they're saying is that they're going to be appealing, regardless of whether Ripple's pre-complaint ODL sales were properly categorized as institutional sales. Ripple will defend any attempt to base remedies on post-complaint ODL sales by showing that these sales lack the characteristics the court relied on to find that Ripple made sales of unregistered investment contracts. So what they're saying is they're going to defend those ODL sales after the complaint was made. After the SEC filed the complaint, you'll notice that, basically Ripple changed up the program. They no longer were doing programmatic sales to exchanges. None of that was being done. They were only doing sales directly to institutions and payment providers. These ODL sales post-complaint, right, were different, and they don't constitute the same. They don't have the same characteristics that the court relied on to find that Ripple made sales of unregistered investment contracts. So Ripple is willing to go the distance, and Brad and team are ready to do it. But you guys already know the video that I've put out. I do believe that we might be seeing a settlement in September because they've scheduled the proper party. It is a free event for anyone to go to. You guys can register now. Ripple dropped the details here today. If you guys want to go register to attend the proper party with Ripple in New York City in the XRP community, you guys can feel free to do so. You guys can register for that event, and it is free to attend, okay? But I just think it's so interesting because we have Brad saying in Vegas that when we win this case, then we're going to have a proper party. And now the proper party has been scheduled, and you are invited. So what's about to occur here? In my opinion, I think that we're about to see Judge Torres reject the appeal, the interlocutory appeal. They're going to reject that. And then after that, I think that we could see this case settled up here potentially by the end of the month, potentially by September 29th. But once again, that's just pure speculation. And if it doesn't settle up in September, I do believe that this staged lawsuit, that's the key part. This staged lawsuit does end in a settlement before they allow Ripple and their killer lawyers to call up all these guys on the witness stand to testify in a court of law with 12 jurors overlooking this whole facts and circumstances. There's no way in heck. And there's no way they allow themselves to get exposed even further than they already have. If you enjoyed this session here tonight on the Ripple, Ripple exposing the SEC, please do me a big favor, share it out far and wide, smash that thumbs up, and make sure you're subscribed with that notification bell hit. And you can go to my website, ZachRector.com, if you're looking to get tapped in with our community or get in touch. I appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you in the next one. God bless.